Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of the UK Connection. It's ranking the songs on Classic Album Day here once again. And before we get started, let me introduce the crew. As always, you're cheating there. You're cheating. Mr. Simon Bray and Mr. Steven Reid in the house once again, all the way from the UK. Good afternoon, well, good evening, gentlemen. How are you today?
Good morning, good night, good afternoon.
Good.
Perfect. I am perfect, mate.
I've always wanted to be part of the crew.
Really? Cool. Well, I'm so
I
happy.
am. I am. I am Vince Neil.
I was just going to say, okay, Vince.
I love that maiden shirt. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very
I'm.
cool.
I'm also not going to say anything this evening. I am just going to go.
Excellent. That'll be my opinion right tonight. Excellent.
Very good. Very good. So as Stephen so kindly hinted at, we are ranking the songs on a classic album today. It happens to be Magnum on a Storyteller's Night. That's right. Do the dance, gentlemen. Come on, we gotta That's right. The Bob Catley Show. We've got 10 songs on it, but before we get to that, of course, we always have a little bit of business to take care of beforehand. So Simon, what are you drinking today?
Well, an epic album requires both an epic glass, which isn't a glass, of course, and also an epic beer. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find an epic beer, but it does have an epic name, and that name is Apocalyptic Thunder Juice.
Wow.
I'm
I
metal.
love that name.
Simon. Does that not come out the other end?
I don't know. It does actually look. I'll put it in a goblet. It does actually look a bit like wee wee. So it's pretty orange, a bit like Lucozade in some way.
So it's not classic beer color then, no.
No, it really isn't. So it's a super cool. Where's my thing? Hey, super
Oh
cool.
yeah, very smart.
Yeah,
I
so
love the name, man. I love the name.
all the way from Norway. So woohoo!
Cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
I had a sip before we come on, and it made me go. So yeah,
I don't know if that's good or bad. We'll find out as we go.
we will indeed.
So last time I think we were on, I had something called a low salt thing.
Yes.
It was fantastic. Well, I discovered, judging by the font, that the low stood for Loch Lomond, because it's exactly the same font that's on here. So I'm back in the Loch Lomond brewery with a silky stout. Okay.
Silky.
The silky stout, thanks.
It's
All right.
oatmeal stout. Good stuff.
Oatmeal stout. Yes, absolutely. And it looks mighty in the glass now.
Yes. Of course, he's got his Iron Maiden glass. I'm sure that's delicious.
I may have found a new favourite brewery. That's two, and these are great. Oh yeah.
So I've been keeping mine cold in my little rock fantasy koozie
Nice.
that I've had for a million years. I actually have a nice local beer from the Newburgh Brewing Company right here in Newburgh, New York. Nanoboss Pale Ale, and it is 4.5%, I believe. I'm trying to find it as I'm twirling around and around and around. Where she stops, nobody knows. I don't know what the fuck it is. I think it's 4.5. It says it here somewhere, but my eyes are not finding it. But yeah, it's listed as a pale ale, but it's very much like a light, hazy New England IPA. So, but it's a little on the light side. But it's very good. It's very citrusy, very crisp. I've had these many times, and here we go. It's a good one, and it definitely it's got that kind of like lemony pineapple pine type of smell to it, as many of these type of beers.
Smell the hops.
Smell the hops. Yeah, whatever kind of hops. What kind of hops we using here? It probably says there's a lighter flavor, bright, juicy, and tropical notes. Doesn't say what kind of hops. What kind of bullshit is that, huh? I don't know. Whatever. Good hops. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers, big ass.
Yeah, it's good. So we've got 10 songs on a Storyteller's Night.
Context.
Oh yes, that's right. Sorry. I'm always yeah. I'm sorry.
It's because we do this. That's why. Go on, Simon.
Well, it's a good job I did that context, just as the Zoom thing was firing up, isn't it? Really. Yeah. So, on a Storyteller's Night, charted in the UK on the 19th of May, 1985. Let's have a look at that chart, shall we? Because I think you'll find quite a lot of these artists remain with us today, nearly 40 years later. Dire Straits' Brothers in Arms zoomed in at number 1.
Nice.
We really should do a favorite, least favorite of Dire Straits, because there's only 6 albums. We really can't fuck that up, can we?
No.
Well, probably yes, but let's do that.
I'm just all there, right? All 6 of them. Choose a live album somewhere, and jobs are good. No Jacket Required by Mrs. Simon's least favorite artist, Phil Collins. Absolutely loathes him with every fiber of her being. Yeah, just saying.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have to stop you because that's an odd hatred. But okay, you look most disconcerted.
She's not keen on Genesis.
There are like things floating around in my beer, and I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, back to the chart.
Okay, back to the charts. Yes.
Tears for Fears, songs from the big show. That was number 5. The Eurythmics were number 6. New Order were 7. Do you see that they're all still kind of around and still in the news these days? Dead or Alive had a hit album. Can you believe that?
Crikey, they spun you right round.
Well, yeah. Youthquake, certainly not one that's on my wall anywhere. Paul Young was still alive, still having hits. Born in the USA. Mr. Bad Guy, Freddie Mercury, that had just come out and was just plummeting down the charts. Go West, they were there. China Crisis.
I like Go West.
I don't.
Do you know I like Go West? Yeah.
I've had the misfortune to sit through them a couple of times. No. He's a medley of my hits. Excellent. Yeah. China Crisis, however, I've seen recently and was entertained by. Supertramp, Brother, Were You Bound? Chris Diarrhea, he was there. New Model Army, I know you like them. And then at 24, in its highest position, was On a Storyteller's Night by Magnum. Just one place above, Street Sounds Electro by various artists. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. So interesting chart of people who still kind of exist and still make big audiences. That was a terrible sentence, wasn't it?
Well, it was. That was yeah. So the US chart is filled with
big audiences. I love it.
Big audiences. Make it now. I don't think this is that strong. No, it's audiences. That's only 6.5. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Well, it got to number. Well, it didn't in the US. None of their albums have. None of them are charted at any number whatsoever. It did get to number 44 in Sweden, but I haven't done the Swedish. I have not done the Swedish charts. I've not done that, okay? I've done the US charts for roughly the same week. I went for week of release, 13th of May, all right? So your top 10 was, and I've been a bit indulgent when I get further down here, okay? So We Are the World was at number 1 for USA, for America. No Jacket Required, Phil Collins, number 2. Born in the USA, Bruce Springsteen. And then you've got the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack, Like a Virgin by Madonna. Number 6 is Sade, Diamond Life, one of Ken Golden's favourites. Yep. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Southern Accents. Then John Fogerty in Centre Field at number 8. Make It Big by Wham at number 9. And Private Dancer by Tina Turner at number 10. It is worth mentioning that number 107 was the self-titled album from none other than John Parr. There you go. Okay, absolutely.
He's never far from me.
Who'd have thunk it? Okay. However, I got bored that day, or I must have done, because in the top 100 you also had Bryan Adams, REO Speedwagon, David Lee Roth, Foreigner, Rick Springfield, Survivor, Autograph. At number 69, it's Geoffria with her self-titled debut. Loudness, Fiona, Dokken, Raven, The Cars, Deep Purple, Accept, and Triumph. And I discovered that I own 21 of the albums that were in the top 100 in the US that week in 1985, and 41 of the top 200. It's quite scary when I tell you I don't like chart music.
Did your homework there, did you? Yeah.
Well, it was one of those things where as you go down, you think, well, I've got this and I've got that. I have to count it now. I have to count it.
Once you get started, man, you can't go back.
Yeah. So the only accolade really that I can find for this album is that it did eventually go gold in the UK. And beyond that, it has not really made a dent, other than the fact that it would appear lots of people, including us, love it.
And lots of people watching the show right now are like, never heard it.
Well, we've had a very positive response on Twitter.
Bad thing. That is a sad thing.
Yeah.
So we got 10 songs. So we're gonna do like we normally do. We'll each give 3 in a row, three, and then our number 1 song. So
sounds good to me.
Simon, what are your 10, 9, and 8? Yes, I can count backwards. There we go. Okay.
I've got 14 of the UK top 100 from that week.
You're on mute, Steven.
Yeah, there you go. I haven't done the UK. I will do that and come back to you.
Excellent. Okay. Right. 10, 9, and 8. Yes, indeed. I would like to say I really, really like this album. I'm fairly confident, not that I've ever rewatched down any of our stuff, that I had this as my favourite Magnum album. Did I?
No, I'm not sure you did.
Oh well, hey, taste change.
I don't think you did. I think it was like your number 2 or 3, but yeah, I don't know if it was your favorite.
Okay.
No, it was my favorite.
All right, I do like it. I do love it.
I know it wasn't in my 2, but I did say it was the best.
One of you picked Chasing the Dragon, if I remember correctly, right?
That wouldn't be me.
Well, I went Wings of Heaven, so.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Anyway, yes.
We make the shit up as we go along. I like everything on this. I love most of it. So let's go with the ones that I like. I don't love. Okay, so I like but don't love Before First Lights. It's just not as memorable as the rest. But I like it. And isn't this always the way with the albums that we like? I can't think of any reason why I don't like it. It's like, because I do like it. It's just not as good as some of the absolute genius shit that's coming up very, very soon. Okay? It's like, good. Yeah. Just makes me make those kind of noises. Yeah, I'll turn it into a Muppet. Yes. My 9 is Endless Love, which I've always thought that I hate. And guess what? I don't.
No, you don't.
I don't like it as much as others. Yeah, but it's fine. It's absolutely fine. But there's so much really, really good shit on this for me that I'm putting it down there at number 9. And my number 8 is Steal Your Heart, which is really good. But kind of gets us into a discussion as, isn't side 1 fantastically, brilliantly, wonderful, fun, smashing, terrific, lovely? So look at what you could have won.
Absolutely.
Side 2's just a little bit weaker. But those are my 10, 9, and 8. I don't like saying bad things about things that I actually like. So there's nothing wrong with any of those tunes. They're entirely serviceable. And
yeah, well, I've had to go looking for things about this album that I don't like. Usually, when somebody else is talking during the show, I like to pretend that I'm intelligent and look at the back of the album and stroke my chin and all this kind of stuff. What a sentient point that other panelist is making. I can't with this because it's yellow and grey. I can't read a bloody word of this thing. It looks better even on the screen than it does in this light. You can't read a single thing. I mean, they've been careful to put the entire album's lyrics on there. Can't read a single word of it. That's the
guys, carry on. My dog's got to go out. I'll be right back.
Okay, that is the only thing about this album that I dislike. So here we go. So ranking this, as some of our friends on Twitter have suggested, it's like, I don't know. So number 10, Endless Love. As I say, I almost feel guilty putting anything at the bottom of this. So I'm still going to pick out all the positives because it's got really cool treble drums. It's got a really good bit of guitar and keyboard interplay. The trade-off is really good. That's a trademark of the whole album. It's got a really great chorus. I love the kind of muted keys that run through it. And I've written underneath it, what's not to like? And that's number 10. So number 9 is The Last Dance. I mean, it's the album's proper softie, but as softies go, it's a good one. It's mainly just piano and layers of Bob's vocals. I mean, how could you argue with that? It's beautiful and it's atmospheric. There's just even better things to come. And then at number 8 for me is Before the First Light. So yeah, I mean, even the low ranked songs here are great. I love the use of the ride cymbal that kind of drives the song on. There's different sections going on here. There's just so much to like about this album. The line that does go, I stand patiently waiting here. Sorry, Bob, I'm sorry. I did sing for years as ostentatiously waiting here. I have no idea what that could possibly have meant in the context of that song. I sang it for years though.
And admit it, you still want to sing it that way, don't you?
Oh, ostentatiously waiting here. It fits perfectly. It makes total sense unless you actually think about what it might mean. But there you go. So that is my 10, 9, and 8. Great songs right from the off.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, there's really no bad songs on here, but kind of like Simon was saying, there's stuff that I like a lot, and then there's the songs that are like, it's okay, I would say the only one out of all these songs that I think that if somehow we took it off the album, I probably wouldn't cry too much about it, and that's The Last Dance. To me, it's kind of like kind of a real fluffy, syrupy meatloaf ballad. It's not bad. It's a nice song. I'm not much into it though. So that's my number 10, The Last Dance. Number 9, Two Hearts. Decent enough 80s rocker, I think. And a lot of this album is very 80s sound. It's like I hadn't listened to this in a little bit, but I've been listening to a lot of their more recent albums, over the last year or so. And it's just amazing how this album sounds so much from its time. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Two Hearts, a little dated, but it's a decent 80s rocker. I love the guitar work from Tony, who's great on this whole album. I think the reason why I don't like this song as much as some of the others is I don't like the synth sounds on this particular song. They sound a little different than some of the other tracks on the album, but it just gives it like a dated feel to me, which I'm like, but it's still a good song, and I don't dislike it. And then number 8, I'm going to go with, however the hell you say it, Les Morts Dansant, however you say that. I never know how to say that. It's a nice symphonic kind of ballad, strong vocals, big sweeping arrangements, so well done. Again, not one of my favorites here, but I don't dislike it at all. And I think for me, the bottom 3, there's a fine line, which those are definitely my bottom 3, and then everything I'm going to talk about next I like a lot. Kind of like Simon said, there's the songs that are really good, and then the genius level. For me, these are the okay songs. Everything else for me is just outstanding. So back to Simon.
My 7 is All England's Eyes, or as somebody described it on social media earlier this week, All Scotland's Eyes. And that's very, very wrong. I don't know who that could be.
Nope, no idea.
And I I feel like I don't put as much effort in as you chaps. I just wrote, this is fucking great.
Comes from the heart, Simon. That comes
factually correct.
Just factually correct. I'm number 7. There are 6 songs I prefer more than this, and I'm already diverging away from our glorious leader because at 6 I've got Two Hearts. Given where they started from as a band, they've kind of like gone, oh, here's the middle of the road. Yeah, and I quite like that. I sometimes like to be in the middle of the road, and Mark Stanway's all over this. It's a really good pop rock song, And one thing that I really like about the entire album is the rhythm guitar everywhere. It's just really, really good, really, really solid. Not too stupidly loud, not too look I can do shit, but it's just what is required for every single song. And then he does the actual solos. It's all great, and I do like Uncle Bob in a higher register. I do quite like that. Somebody must have been below him, like doing things like So 6, yep. Do I do 5? Numerous is not my thing.
Yes.
5. My 5 is The Last Dance because I really like it. I really, really like it. It's one of those like when we talked about Meatloaf whenever we spoke about Meatloaf like 6 years ago. Feels like a while, It's astoundingly good vocal. It's really, really good vocal. It's a beautiful song. It really is, Another Lonely Night is too much. Another Lonely Night, you never give up. And yet look at them. Really? What the actual fuck? How can you cheer up about that sexy looking bunch of guys, eh? Yeah. But it's a lovely, lovely song. You know, nobody that aren't us ever appears to say, God, Bob Catley's a fantastic singer. Because he is. He really, really is. Oh, looks like Doctor and the Medics, doesn't it?
Either that or it's like Paul Diano fronting Angel. I don't know. It's like
There's a thought.
Yeah,
that's a pretty disturbing image, right? Yeah.
yeah. Murders in the Winter song.
And yeah, those are my up to number 5, the Last Dance, which I like a lot more than Pete.
Well, I think that these lists are, considering we all really like this album, these lists are quite remarkably different, I think.
Yep.
And I think that's because we all really like this album and there's nothing to dislike. And that makes it really difficult to put these in an order. So my number 7 in shock news is Just Like an Arrow. Now, this was probably the first Magnum song I ever heard. I bought it in 7-inch single. I played it to death. I maybe overplayed it to death. And that's maybe why now I listen to it and kind of go, I mean, it's still got a chorus to die for. And I do love that exaggerated snare hit. It goes deep, my love, only for you. I mean, I live for that hit. It's almost like Alone from Heart. Boom, boom, boom. Every time those things come on, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Give it to me one more time.
Anyway, so yeah, I really like it. Great guitar solo, great keyboard solo, and yes, we're only at number 7. Okay, so number 6 was the B-side, Two Hearts, and it was a different version that was on the B-side. I can't really remember what it was like. I don't have it anymore. Don't know why. And I think that this song really shows how clever the arrangements on this album are. There are little sections that come out of earshot all the time, and there's so much interest in all these songs. You know, that some of the riffs are not the most complex things that are on the go. The vocal lines are fantastic, and Bob brings lots of atmosphere, but there's just little nuances underneath, little splashes of keyboard, little guitar motifs that just kind of a couple of seconds and gone. And it's all over this song. Really like it. There's a kind of commercially Dire Straits kind of feel just underneath. I don't think that's a particularly bad thing, personally. And when you pomp it up like it's done here, I think it really works. And there's just another understated but stonking guitar solo. And Tony Clarkin is just, I mean, he's great all the time, but he's great on this album. He really is. And then number 5 is Steal Your Heart. Maybe one of the kind of more simple songs on that album, but it's really effective, super memorable. And I am a sucker for this clanking ride cymbal bell that ting, 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 that just seems to pick up a lot of these songs and run with them. Love it. So that's my number 5, Steal Your Heart.
Well, that's my number 7, Steal Your Heart. It's upbeat and bright as all hell. I like the kind of guitar, keyboard kind of riff that goes through that. I think Bob just kills it on the chorus. Really memorable, really hooky. What's not to love, right? It's a great song. Yeah, it's 7. But again, like I said, everything from here on is really good, and there's not much that separates these. Number 6, I'm going to go with Endless Love. I love Tony's gritty riffing on this particular song. The drums are huge. The backing vocals are superb on this song. It's ultra catchy, nice use of synths. Love it. Great song. You know, it's funny in re-listening to this again. Again, it's an album we all know really well, but you know, sometimes you don't hear an album for a little bit, even though you know it very well. And I was left like, why was this album not huge here? It's like the big mystery, right? It's like the more you listen to this, I'm like, I could name 15 other bands who put out albums that are in the same ballpark as this that made millions here, and this didn't even get a sniff. Like, what?
I think, did they maybe look too English?
That could be. It could be. But you know, Jesus, just play the fucking
I mean,
record on the
Bob and
radio. You
Tony,
know, it's like it's crazy.
even 40 years ago nearly, Bob and Tony look old.
Yeah, I guess.
You
Yeah.
know, you look at, I mean, that band shot that you held up, you look at that and you think, wow, that comes from like 1967.
Yeah. And again, this is right in the middle of MTV
Yep.
time, right?
Yeah.
So
Long coats and hats and beards don't really work on
they don't,
MTV.
yeah, yeah. But I'm just, for me, I'm just like radio perspective. This stuff
Yep.
is tailor made for what was being played on the radio. But again, it's not tailor made. They're not tailor made for MTV. So that probably has 90% to do with it, I would imagine. So number 5, Just Like an Arrow. And again, I'm going to reiterate because these are the notes I wrote for this song. It's hard to believe that like bands like Survivor were huge here around this time, and yet stuff like this didn't crack a dent in the charts, because I listen to Just Like an Arrow and I'm thinking, yeah, baby. It's like I could just picture like what I was, you know, putting on FM rock radio here in the States back in 85, 86, and hearing like Survivor and Journey and Foreigner and all these other bands. And then you listen to this album and specifically that song, and I'm like, that should have found a home right in between all of them.
Question. What label were they on in America?
I couldn't even tell you.
There you go. Yeah. Because over here we're on FM Revolver.
I mean, it says here Polydor. That might be the case, but I mean, Polydor had a lot of other big bands on their label, so I don't know. But I mean, this song is it's a tremendous AOR melodic rock song. There's hooks everywhere. The guitars are crisp in your face. Just enough keyboards. The vocals are amazing. It's just got hit single written all over it. Nothing. Crickets. It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a real shame. Anyway, back to Simon.
4. Yes, 4. My 4 is How Far Jerusalem, which I think is a solid gold classic.
100%.
And it's at number 4 for your Uncle Simon. You can see how they're edging away from the initial sound, and it's still a little bit pumpy, it's a little bit proggy, but they're kind of going, ooh, hello, pop music, hello. I'd like to sell a few more records. Thank you. If you don't,
we can make big bucks in America. Yes, let's do it. Oh,
yes, we can do that. It's not, but this is atmospheric. It's epic. It's 6 minutes and 46 seconds of joy. It's just so good. But guess what? There are songs I like more on this record, and I'd really like to talk about Just Like an Arrow. I don't know why I've got this down at 3, because I utterly love this song. And do you know what else I really like? That's right, the video for Just Like an Arrow. This is the point where everybody stops what they're doing and goes and watches the video for this, because it is, and I'm going to quote myself right now, really fucking hilarious. It really is. I don't know if it's hilariously bad or if it's hilariously good, but it's just like, oh, well, there's a Jeep in a bull ring. What the heck's going on here? Oh, what are we wearing, lads? Fuck. Oh, Bob. Oh, yeah. You've got jeans on, but you've got this kind of like poncho on the top kind of thing going on there. And you remember previously when I recommended everybody watching Magnum on Top of the Pops, and Wally Lowe was really loving it on the bass. He's really loving it on this as well. Yeah, and you can tell that. Is it Jimmy Simpson was on drums at this point?
Yeah.
You can tell that nobody said to him, "Look interested," while we're really filming Bob and Tony, because he's just like in the back going. Then when they cut to him, he's riding those cymbals and he's really going for it. Bam, bam, bam. And then these girls turn up because somebody's seen both Duran Duran and ZZ Top. You know, and they're still doing it. I'm just waiting for them to go. It's just weird as shit, but it's really good, and it's ever such a good song, you know. Because before this, they were on about splitting up, weren't they? Before this record, things were looking a little bit grim, and it's just so energetic, and you know, it's just like top quality pop rock, and you know, Peter, you are so correct. You could see, you know, bands like Survivor, like Oral Spudwagon or whatever, making songs like this and having huge hits. And like you said, just Tumbleweed, which probably was in the video somewhere.
I'm sure.
It's a great pop rock song. It really is. My two is on a Storyteller's Night, which is epic beyond belief. Sounded like one of the young people there, didn't I? Yes, indeed. It builds. It's deceptively simple. It's got those rhythm guitars again. I saw that first, Stephen Marshall. I see all. I know all, as you know. It's just so good.
Over here, watch.
You know,
he just knew there was a face there. He just knew. He didn't see it. He just knew there was.
I just knew what was coming. It's just such a really great song. It's deceptively simple, but probably, and I'm not a music, probably isn't. But you think, well, I could do that. Actually, I couldn't. But you know what I mean? It's just so good. And again, the guitars are just excellent. Really, really providing a foundation for everything else to happen. It's so good, but not my number one. I'm going to hold fire on that one, just in case anyone's making notes on what it could possibly be.
I've come up with a theory as we're doing this.
I love theories.
Okay. And my theory is we're talking about why they weren't huge, why were they not Survivor, why were they not REO Speedwagon. I wonder if they were just too sophisticated. You think about Survivor and you think about, I'm not going to go to Survivor, we love Survivor, I love Survivor. But I actually think when you kind of compare this album to Vital Signs is very kind of blatant. These are big hit songs with big choruses, and we get to the choruses. Let's not planning about too much, with arrangements and all. I'm not saying these are simple songs. I'm not saying that they're not well written and they're not great songs. Right? Really like Survivor. Go watch the ranking show if you don't believe me. Leave me alone. Okay. However, I would say that certainly the album cuts here are just a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more atmospheric. Just a thought. Anyway, number 4.
I mean, it's a good point, but I think my argument is that you can't tell me that there aren't at least 1 or 2 songs on this album that could have been hit potential here.
Oh, yeah,
that maybe aren't as quite as, because I totally get what you're saying. I easily can look at half of these songs and think, yeah, probably a little, you're going to probably, maybe the Styx crowd or the Yes crowd, the 80s Yes could like this stuff. But I get what you're saying. But I still think there are a couple tracks on here that could have, if a record company and some radio stations would have pushed it here, could have taken off.
Simon's desperate to come on.
Maybe. And you're going back to what you're saying about how Magnum look old and stuff. Maybe it's the singer and not the song.
Oh,
I did there. I made a Survivor reference, you see, and
boom.
Say what you like about Survivor. Jimmy Jameson was a good-looking guy, wasn't he? And Magnum looked like Magnum.
Well, I mean, this is a good point. So to Simon's point, the record label or whoever might have been like, yeah, there might be some singles here, but you know what? God, what are we going to do if people start listening to this stuff, if the radio start playing it and we want to push these guys? Bob Catley's not exactly, Mr. GQ, right? Nor none of the rest of the band. So they're probably thinking, well, what are we going to do with it? It's like, the music's great, but look at the guys.
Whoa, come on. 2 albums down the line, and Bob Catley can sit on a bridge like this with a wind going through his hair, which was great when he was about 12, I think, and looking really, really like he's trying to look sexy.
Yeah.
They definitely tried to make him into some sort of sex symbol around the Wings of Heaven album. They definitely tried. I'm not going to tell you that it worked and people loved it, but yeah.
I mean, we're not talking Bon Jovi here, right?
No, not quite. No.
And I know Image was huge in the 80s, and I mean, I think that's what it is. It's got to be, because music-wise, there's no reason. No reason for the ignorance and ignoring factor here in North America for this band, other than the fact that they just don't look the part.
Yeah, I think it is down to, for America, they don't look the part. And I would suggest that by 85, the UK was waiting for the US to tell us what we should be listening to in terms of what got, media notice. Not necessarily what people were buying or what people were talking about, but in terms of who was going to go stratospheric, we were waiting for America to go, this is the next band to go buy, people. And mainstream telly and the radio over here went, okay, thanks, that's what we'll promote.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, right, number 4, All England's Eyes. I mean, Magnum do Pompous really well, and All England's Eyes, it struts, it preens, and there's rolling drums, there's near chanted vocals. I mean, you have to join in. It's just so good. And I mean, Clarkin's songs are always wrapped up in a superb chorus. But I really love the little touches that he throws in. Like, and it was maybe Mark Stanley that threw it in. It goes, All England's Eyes. That little keyboard bit. Oh, just I'm so easy pleased. I love these little bits and songs. I listen out to them all the time. I mean, we're in really genuinely phenomenal territory now. Number 3, How Far Jerusalem. This is how to open an album. 6.5 minutes that really just tells you what the whole journey is going to be about. Great grooves. I mean, Wally Lowe is great on bass. And then things slowly build from there. Great guitar work. I'm kind of repeating myself here because there's shimmering keys, there's outstanding vocals, and it just culminates in a phenomenal sing-along. So, you know, but there's great drum fills on here. It's the whole package. It's the real deal. And then at number 2, On a Storyteller's Night, on such an atmospheric album, it's the mood and the tone that captures my imagination. And this song is filled with it. More great vocals. I mean, I may have said about 7 times about 7 different vocalists on this show. Is Bob Catley the most underrated vocalist in rock? Well, he might well be, but then again, there's another 6 or 7 that I've already nominated for that, so that kind of tells its own story. But it is just really so memorable. Great drums in here. I keep the night light burning. There's just so much to love, and I love it. So that's my number 2.
My number 4 is Before First Light. To me, it's just a great, stellar 80s anthem. I love the cranking guitars. I love the chorus. I have a ton of fun with that song. So that's my number 5. I'm sorry, number 4. Number 3, this at one point in time, I think back when I first started getting into this album, was my favorite song on the album. It's dropped a little bit, but still it's top 3. All England's Eyes. I adore the chorus. It's amazing. It's just a great commercial heavy rock song. The riffs and the keyboards are outstanding. Bob is weaving all of his little magical spells on the vocals. I just love it. It's so catchy. It's a great rocker. Like I said, it was my favorite for a long time. But it's dropped down a little bit because 2 other songs have kind of passed it. My number 2 is the title track on A Storyteller's Night. I mean, it's a great example of how to do atmospheric, catchy, and moodiness, yet in a very AOR melodic rock friendly framework. It's very 80s, but that's okay. His vocals are great. The keyboards are amazing. The guitar work from Tony is like, it's just heavy enough in spots because it's not a heavy song, but when you need him to add a little heft, it's there. I think it's a superb track, and it's one of their. If I were to, God, I don't even know if we've ever done it, but if I were to come up with like a top 10 Magnum songs of all time, it's got to be on that list for me. So back to Simon for the number 1. Numero uno.
Number 1. My number 1 is obviously Les Morts Dansants. What a song, what a tune. I'm a bit of a sucker for songs that take a while to get to where they're going. It takes a while, but in a good, I mean, in a really good, in a good way. It's here's my notes. It's lovely. It's glorious. It's elegiac. Good word. It's masterful. It really is. It's a great song. It's monumental. And do you know what? This is not the best version of this song you will ever hear. It's so good on like practically every other live album. Every whenever you see them do it, Bob, I'm going to turn into American. He knocks it out of the park every single time. It's such a great song. I'm also fairly confident that my older child really likes this song as well because it reminds him of his grandma. It's just a lovely, gorgeous, beautiful song, and it's my number 1, and has been probably since I got the album. So it was going to stay there all the time, and it has done. It's great.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And for those who are taking notes, making tallies, and working it all out, it's also my number 1. I just absolutely adore this song. I just think it's phenomenal.
So everybody's probably thinking right now, what? So why is the Dumb American have it so far down low in his ranking, right?
Well, not everyone. I mean, most people, yeah, but not everyone.
It's okay. I'm all right with that. I'm all right with that.
I just think
as you can see, most of the mellower tracks are at the bottom of my list. That tells you all you need to know about me, right?
So. It's funny because this is a mellow song that I don't really view as a mellow song.
No.
I view this as a really atmospheric song that builds.
It's a slow build, this song.
The vocal touches me in this one. It really does. That one night it was one of seven. Oh, I mean, I'm getting the shivers already. It takes you into the song. It really is such a good vocal. And it's not the only phenomenal thing about the song. That that little riff that just comes and carries it along. Oh, to die for. Yeah, it's my number one. And I just love it. I absolutely, can you tell? It's great stuff. Really good. I could go on, but I won't.
It's not like you.
All right. Guess what my number one is? How far, Jerusalem? Oh, man. Oh, such a great song. Love the keyboards. Love them. Love the crunchy riffs. I'm checking all the boxes here. Great keyboards. Yes. Crunchy riffs. Yes. Anthemic fist pumping chorus. Check. What else? It's all I need. All I need. Killer Bob Hatley vocals. It's kind of lengthy, right? Is it the longest song on the album? I believe so, right? Yes, it is.
I think so. Yeah, I think it is.
It is. Yeah. 626, right?
I would tell you, but I can't read the numbers on the back of this.
Yeah, 626, longest by about a minute. Yeah, it's epic. It's just and it's the first song of the album too. And you know what? One of the things I really, really love is album openers that kick ass and set the tone for the rest of the album. And that's exactly what How Far Jerusalem does for me. So yeah, it's a great start to a great album, and it's my favorite song on the album.
We often say when we do all of these shows, there are no wrong answers. And I would suggest with this album, that has never been truer. Because I can't find anything to dislike here. So I don't really worry about where anyone's rankings are going to be, what's in the comments and all these kind of things. Everybody's right, because everything on this album is just top notch, phenomenal.
Except for the person who goes, fucking shit. That would be wrong.
No, they're not wrong. They're merely misguided. Wrong. Yes, fools. Madmen.
And in all likelihood, they've never heard the album. So, because a lot of people will do that nowadays. They'll be like, that sucks. And have you ever heard it? Well, no, but there's a reason why I haven't heard it, because it sucks.
Well, we did get that under the Skinner show. After seeing all that time in the Skinner show, you got to check out the new stuff. It's really good. Don't dismiss it. There is a couple of comments underneath that go, yeah, Skinner stopped at that point for me, and I've never listened to anything else because that's not the real band. How do you know?
Right.
Do you know?
Exactly. So, yeah, can you tell we love this album? So, yeah, this is, arguably one of the top Magnum albums of all time.
Oh, yeah.
It's my favorite Magnum album of all time. But I will say that if we were to have this discussion a couple of years from now, my arm might be twisted a bit on some of the more recent albums, because I am finding that I listen to the more recent albums a lot more than the older ones nowadays. And I really, really love kind of what they've been doing the last like decade or so. They just,
especially this year, Pete. The Monster Roars is
yeah, fantastic. Yeah, you know what it is? I think if you kind of go through their catalog, the first couple albums, late 70s, they have that 70s feel. This album and a lot of the other ones around it, they're very 80s. Like you listen to this and you listen to the Monster Roars or the last couple, it's very different. I think the new stuff is very mature and very sophisticated, and maybe not as kind of hooky as this, but the hooks are there. And I find, like, musically speaking, there's a lot to love on the new albums. And I think that, there might be people watching who are maybe, haven't really listened to Magnum much, and they may listen to it. They may hear this and be like, oh God, it's kind of 80s cheese in spots, and it is. I mean, it is.
Yeah, no, that face was for, yeah, I'm still on board.
Well, yeah, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but there are people who don't like 80s production values and a lot of the use of synths and whatnot. Whereas the more recent albums don't have any of that. And to me, they're very different. So, but yet this is still like the quintessential Magnum album for me, because it's the first one I ever heard. And it's so great. Right. But I find that I listen to less of their 80s albums and much, much more of their their 2000s albums. So that's just me. But they're all really good. They're all really good. So there you have it, everybody. If you're watching and you are a fan of this album, rank the songs as you like them. As Steven said, there is no right or wrong answer here. It's all a matter of personal preference. And we will be doing this exercise once again in a few weeks, so stay tuned for that. Next episode, however, Steven, you want to announce that one?
Yes, we're back on the melodic rock trail is where we're going. So we're back to doing a classic album, which isn't quite John Parr. We're back to doing a kind of underground classic album, which might well be not John Parr. And then we're on the Neo album. And that's not John Parr either, but we are covering Journey, Heat, and Cher.
Yes, that's right. So one well-known classic, one that maybe some of you might not have heard from more recent times, and one by an artist that you wouldn't think released a AOR melodic rock album, but she did, lo and behold. So stay tuned next episode for that coming up. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together in Poughkeepsie all the damn time. See, Simon, I threw something different in there for you. Just for you, my friend. I was thinking of Simon because I did an episode. I did a review of the new Steve Hackett live CD and Blu-ray. And this was actually recorded at the Apollo in Manchester. And I'm thinking, I bet you Simon's been to that venue many, many times. Yes, I was thinking. I was like, looking at that, I'm like, oh, good amount of people fit in that place. I would like to go there one of these days. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, I have to plot a trip to the UK. I really, really need to.
Manchester is our home.
Yes. So I got to talk to the wife about that, because I think when the time is right, I may be buying some plane tickets. Is this 4.5? What is going on?
So it was those floaty bits.
It must be, but I haven't drank. They're sitting here because I'm like, I'm not touching that because they're all kind of sitting there at the bottom. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, that's the only ones you've seen. There's more.
But
okay,
yes, I will at some point.
Can you go again from? We're on Facebook. We're on. Can you go from there again? Thanks.
All the damn time.
All the damn time. That's right. So yes, Pete is going to make it to the UK one of these days. That is what I'm trying to get at here. So anyway, for Simon Bray and Steven Reid, I am Pete Pardo. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. I said this already. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on the notification bell so you get alerted of all of our content as it posts, and the link below to our Ko-Fi page and our merch page and all that good stuff. Have a good one, everybody. See you next Saturday. Bye-bye.